Hello, hello, hello. Today is November the 3rd, 2022. And what a spectacular past couple of days we have had today. Trading and investing of any kind carries risk. Everything discussed here is for entertainment purposes only and not to be taken as financial advice because I don't give advice. Now, let's check this out. So the last video, if you watched it all the way through with my rambling, we talked about this particular pattern here, which took us to roughly 50% from bottom to top, which it did. And we talked about this cipher, which is now completed as of today. So both of these patterns have completed. So it's fairly obvious to me now that, as I mentioned earlier, that most of the activity up here was just selling into all these pops and pushes. So that worked out very nicely. So what happens now? Well, if you notice today, we last night and today both, really we just kind of sat in these ranges here for some accumulation. So we had all this selling going on. The FOMC was the catalyst we needed, and it just, gave us that little Yankee yank there. So we pulled back to this 50% retrace, and then we ended up getting this wick down here to finish off this pattern. So now we see what happens, right? We see where we accumulate. We start looking where the money's going to come in, and that's how we make a determination of what our next move is. And again, just because we start forming a bias doesn't mean we can't change our minds, right? We start seeing momentum go in one direction, then we play it that way. That's how it works. That's how trading works. If you get your bias and your mindset on something, news is always going to kill you. Something's going to come in and turn it in the other direction. Even if it's temporary, right? It's still, nobody wants to be panicked. So now, lovely enough, we can get rid of these patterns because they are done and done. So yeah, I don't really, other than pushing back up, I don't really have a bias at this moment. And the reason for that is this pattern here, this cipher pattern that we had, could actually become a shark pattern. So which means if it continues beyond the retrace that we have seen, we could see, let's go ahead and put that there. We could actually see it go down to, from here, which is an 88.6 retrace, all the way down to a 1.13. Should be right here. So we could see a dip as low as 358.79, and that's just to complete this shark pattern, right? So that's where my mind is right now. Is this a completed cipher pattern that's going to turn around? Or are we taking a little bit of a break, do a little bit of accumulation in here for another move down, right? So we had some accumulation today, not a ton. We had, let's look at it here. My handy dandy digits here. So we had roughly, 5, 6, 7, 8. So maybe 7 or 8 million shares accumulated. Roughly 5 million of those were around 375. So we had a lot of shares accumulated right up in here. And if you notice, we haven't really gotten above that level. So, that says to me we're below those accumulation numbers, right? So until we start pushing higher above it, I'm not going to believe we're going to go back up yet. I'm still going to continue to look for a downside move. How long? I don't know. We'll see what tomorrow brings. We'll see what the momentum looks like tomorrow. We'll see if there's more accumulation, and if there is more accumulation, how much more. So let's see what else we can see here. So those right now, that's where I am. So either for this, or now that we understand what that looks like, you know, this bigger cipher here that could still take us up to 400. But now the problem is we're going to need something down here to take us up there, right? So we'll have to start building a pattern to take us back up that high. I'm curious to if we can build a pattern and find enough momentum by the 8th. I mean, because the 8th is not it's not that far away. So, you know, I'm starting to believe that, you know, maybe we'll get a little bit of a recovery with some accumulation and then maybe continue to pull. You know, there's signals that take us all the way down to pretty crazy levels, but you know, if I'm looking at it long term, I'm looking at it to go all the way back down into the 320s. And that's mainly just because of the retrace from our COVID lows. If you retrace this from COVID, you know, this peak low we had at COVID, and then you do a retrace on it, a 61.8% retrace gets us right around 317 or 318. And the wild part about that is there are particular patterns that actually take us down there. So we could build out these XABCD patterns, like a crab pattern, for instance, which is a 1.618, which takes us roughly to 321 or so. And that gets us down there. We could build smaller patterns to actually help us get down there, but you know, that's kind of where my mind is big picture, because now we're resetting, right? The move was made. So now we sit back, we day trade, we just trade the momentum as we do today, right? So on a day like today, you just look for the little patterns and you trade them. You're not getting big moves on a day like today because it's just an inside accumulation day. So we sit back, look for the bigger moves, get ideas of what, you know, we might think is going to happen. And that's what I'll do today, tomorrow. I'll just pay attention, see what's going on through these elections. And then, you know, from there, we'll kind of see what we see. We'll see what happens. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much all for now. Yeah, if I see anything else, maybe I'll make some of those, maybe I'll make some of those shorts. Yeah, maybe I'll make some of the YouTube shorts to throw it out there. I don't do a lot of TikToking. I guess maybe I should. We'll see. But for now, that's what I got. So if you have any questions, comments, you know, let me know. I like making the videos. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Tell everybody. Tell your friends. Tell your cousin. Tell your mom. Yeah, that's all I got. Peace.